Hello everybody and welcome once again to the MYOB 20 Great Online Training Sessions with Blue Banana and your host Linda Coles. That's me from Blue Banana, and I'm actually going to be your presenter today. Unfortunately, Anna is ill. She's lost her voice. And one thing you do need, apart from having the sort of flu symptoms as well, but to do a webinar you do need a voice. So we wish Anna a speedy recovery. Well, that just means I'm totally on my own today. So if you do have any questions, if you can leave them to the end, because I won't be able to get to them and monitor them as the presenter would have been going along. So I've got to concentrate on my presentation to make sure that I can deliver what you're all waiting to hear. So if you can leave your questions till the very end and I'll go through them then, that would be great. So as usual, you can watch the recordings later on at bluebanana20.com/recordings, and your password as always is MYOB20. The hashtag is MYOB20 if you want to tweet, and don't forget also the group MYOB20 on LinkedIn, where I'll be able to answer any more questions, and any of the other presenters can also chip in as well. So today I'm going to be looking at blogging and blogging for business. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about who I am first. Let's get this rolling. Okay, so who am I? Well, I'm an international social media speaker. I also am a social media trainer, and my pet topic really is, I suppose if you like to say I'm famous, I'm not really famous, but what I'm probably better known for is everything to do with LinkedIn. Although social media as a whole, I've got a very good understanding, obviously, how everything fits into it. So that prompted me to write the book, Learn Marketing with Social Media in 7 Days, which was published by Wiley. So today we're going to be going through blogging. Now, we're going to go through quite a lot of details. Some of this stuff you may think is a little bit basic. Some of it you might think, whoa, didn't know that. That's gone straight over my head. So I've tried to pitch it that suits everybody. So let's hope I've managed to do that. So we're going to have a look at what is a blog and why would I bother with a blog. Then we're going to have a look at some of the tools that are available. A few examples, my favourite examples, because it's always good to have a look at why you particularly like a blog and think, yeah, that's what I need to replicate myself in my blog. What sort of content ideas? Because I like a lot of the social media things on there, your Facebook page. What are you going to actually write about? And keeping that content nice and fresh and keeping it up to date and keeping it relevant. And relevance probably the most important thing, because your audience are expecting a certain topic from you, and if you don't deliver on that topic and you go rambling off onto something else, you may well find that people unsubscribe. And then once you've got your blog up and running, how do you actually promote it? How do you let people know that your blog is in existence and that it's got some good stuff on there to share? So don't keep it a secret, and we'll have a look at all sorts of different ideas for that. So first off, what is a blog? Well, really, it originally came from a web log. I guess it's an online diary. It's somewhere where you can put your musings, your thoughts, you can spread your knowledge about a particular topic and help others. It's a great way of getting your name and your own personal brand out there, because until people see you, they don't know you exist. They don't go to bed with a telephone directory in the case, I hope that they need your services in the future. So it's about getting yourself out there online, and the internet really just gives it scale. So if you think of it as a soapbox to talk from, and the internet just gives you a great big audience rather than just standing at Hyde Park Corner, literally on your soapbox, for those of you that have ever been to London. But it's also a great place where anyone can actually publish something. So whenever you post something on a blog, you are in fact become a publisher. It's your information, your thoughts, and you've put it down on virtual paper, if you like. So it is your work. So that makes you a publisher. Just like a newspaper publishes something on paper, you're doing it on the web. But like I say, a great place to develop your own personal brand as well as that of the companies. And there's a lot of people, particularly CEOs, that have developed their own brand as the voice of that company that they're working for. And then when they leave that company, they're still well known in that field, and they've gathered that tribe behind them, those people that are following them and hang on to their every word and love what they do. So they're able to take that as an asset when they go to the next company. And works both ways. When someone comes to your company and they've got a reasonable following for their blog, maybe it's in the same industry as you are as well, that's an asset coming to your company because they're associated with your brand. So it's a real interactive space. Like Facebook is for a lot of B2C businesses, blogging gives B2B and B2C that opportunity to have people post comments and chat, not quite in real time, depending on how quick you are, but to also have that, develop that conversation and therefore building a relationship. So it really is a relationship building tool. So let's have a look. Why to bother keeping a blog? Well, you've got the business to business engagement that we've just talked about, like keeping that soapbox going. Facebook's not for every business, and I've got a Facebook page. I'm expected to have a Facebook page, and B2C, B2the end user is really where Facebook is really, really very good. It does work for business to business, but not everybody, not everything. So I'm never going to get hundreds of thousands of fans. And maybe if your business deals with other businesses, you're not necessarily going to get hundreds of thousands of fans either. So keeping this blog is a great way of keeping that engagement going and talking to your prospects, talking to your clients. So it gives your brand a personality because the conversation on a blog is a lot more relaxed. So moving down to the relaxed corporate conversation, it's your website is everything that's corporate. You've probably got a bit of jargon on there, and your blog is entirely the opposite. So it's much more relaxed. It's much more, if you were meeting someone for a coffee, it's more that conversation rather than being in their boardroom, if that makes sense to you. And it's also a great place for getting more content out there to attract more prospects, which ultimately leads to lead generation. And that's what we're all in business for, to make more money, get more clients, and do it that way. So if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant or business to business service of some way, a blog would really be a very good platform for you to show your conversation style, to show your content knowledge, to offer help, build relationships, and just generally get your brand, your personal as well as your business, get it out there. So let's have a look at the SEO aspect of it, which is also a really important part of your blog, because the robots really enjoy new content. So often, the robots go out from Google and they go scurrying out like hunting for food. And they'll go out and find all the new content that's actually been put out onto the web, and then they'll what's the word? They'll put it all together into the search function so that when somebody then searches for something that someone searches for something, they'll bring back that information, and they like to bring back information that's up to date and current. So new stuff that's been posted, that could be the things that come up first rather than something that you've got those search terms there that's maybe 2-3 years old. So that constant update of constant information, those robots really like. And those robots, when they know that they're going to get new food, as I like to call it, when they go out and get that, they know where to visit because they've been there before and they've got new food. So they go scurrying off, and literally that's all they do. They just go off and scurry around for new content to bring back. And you've also got backlinks. Now, backlinks are when people link to your site. So when a link from a comment or a link on another website appears, that comes back as a backlink to your blog or to your website, depending on where you're actually linked to. And Google robots really love to have those links. But not all links are equal. I think when Richard was talking about search engine optimization, he went through this a little bit. So if you've got a link from a well-known website to your blog, say maybe the Herald or Forbes or Inc. or something like that, that's going to be worth a heck of a lot more than if you've got 2 or 3 links coming in from your aunt's blog that talks about something like, I don't know, baking, or it doesn't really matter what the subject is, but a lesser high-ranking page. So the backlinks really need to come from bigger and better websites than your own. But I'm not going to go into too much search engine optimization because that's really not my field. But those the blogs are searched very, very quickly, and particularly WordPress that we'll talk about in a little while. You can actually have posted your blog, and within only a few minutes, I've got my Google alert that's set up that's come back through into my email to say that the Google robots have actually been out and digested that piece of content, and they've sent me an alert back. Now, if you're not sure about Google Alerts and what they are or how you can create them, they're very, very simply, if you go to set up a Google account, if you haven't already got one, and then just click on Alerts when you're in there and then create, you should set up an alert for your name, for your company name, for anything that you're interested in listening about. And what happens is when the Google robots go find something, they send an email to you to say, hey, look, someone's talking about this thing that you want to be notified about. So it's always really handy to know what people are saying about you and your brand as well as your industry. And they're free, and you can set up as many as you want. I set mine up so that when the alert comes through, it's as it's happened rather than waiting until the end of the week and getting all the alerts through. But I digress. So this here is just an image of what I call, well, it's actually from Disqus. Now, Disqus is it's a way that a lot of blogs use their comments, and you'll see it out there quite a lot. And once you've registered with Disqus, it recognizes you when you're logged in very often. So what it allows me to do, it's got my picture up there already. This is someone else's blog, it's not my blog, and I'm about to post a comment. So when I comment on here, that posts, but then people can click either on my picture or that name, and that'll go through to my website. So it's a great way of getting more traffic to your website by actually posting on other people's blogs. Whether it's the same industry or not, it really doesn't matter. Same industry would probably be helpful in that someone that's reading that blog might be interested in what you've got to say over on your blog. But it's a great way of getting links back to your own blog or website. And of course, you can share this on Facebook as well. So it's actually got a real good share ability. Now that's called Disqus, and you'll see that actually quite a lot all over other people's blogs. Beware though of actually adding your own URL into the actual comments thing, into the actual comments box. A lot of people, when they look at their comments on their blog, if they see it as something that they might think is a bit spammy, they'll just remove that comment, so that's lost. So don't put your actual URL in that comment box. Now this next one is from the Huffington Post, and they've got quite a snazzy one. As you can see, you can actually post it to your Facebook page or Tumblr or Blogger or any of those other ones. So it's got greater shareability. And again, you need to log into a lot of these. And when you log in, it asks for your name, your email address very often. Not that it does anything with that. I think it really just uses that to make sure that you're real. And then there's usually a box to actually put your website. And again, when you leave a comment, people can see and click back through to your website or your blog. So it's very, very useful and a great way of creating those blog backlinks back to your website or blog. And I'm talking about website and blog because a lot of people have their blog integrated into their website. It's not necessarily a standalone thing. So keep it relevant. Now, this is one of the great tools I've come across, and HubSpot do some amazing work in the marketing area for B2B. That's what they concentrate on. So if you've never come across HubSpot.com, check them out. Now, they've actually got what I've got a separate website called Marketing Grader. So it's marketing.grader.com. And what this allows you to do is put your URL just up there in the top there where it says website URL. You don't need to worry about your email address. You can put a competing website in there if you like. So maybe you're one of your competitors and generate the report. You just simply click on that button there. And what that will do is it will scurry off and it will do a whole audit, if you like, of all your marketing that you do online. So it'll cover things like Facebook and Twitter and your blog and your website, and it'll tell you all the mistakes that you've made and where you can actually create something better than what you've got. It's very, very simple, and it's free, and it's very, very effective. And they use that as one of their tools to sort of get their name out there as HubSpot, offering this free stuff, and it's really, really good. So what that actually does when you actually click in there and you come up with your report, it tells you the 3 critical areas that you need to look at, but it also tells you the top 10 sites that are linking back to your website or blog. So I can see here very easy that I've got Twitter and YouTube and WordPress. Well, I'd expect those because when you set up your profile on any of those social sites, you always put a link back to your website or blog. But then if you've got an article up there on Mashable, I know there's a link back to the website, and also the Herald and Copyblogger. Now, those are all really decent sites. So they're giving me a lot of Google love, a lot of Google juice back to my website or blog. So this is where creating comments on other people's blogs, like the Herald or like some of the bigger sites, that's where it's really important because it gives you these links back. Now, that one at the bottom there, Copyblogger, I didn't write an article for Copyblogger. I simply commented on another article, and it's taken my website URL as a link and it's showing up there. So that's given me some great Google juice. So spend some time on going around commenting on other people's blogs. It's also great to comment on other people's blogs, and we'll talk about comments a little bit later on, but it's a sign that someone's been because we don't know when someone's visited the blog or your website, do you? They don't leave a trail. And just like when you go and read something online, you don't always leave a trail. You don't leave a note to say that you've been there or you appreciated what was written. So those web watchers, as I call them, they are out there. So don't think there's no one watching what's going on your blog. They will be. They just don't necessarily leave a trail. So have a look at that anyway. Marketing.grader.com. Have a look at that. That's really cool. And at the end of it, it actually shows you a score out of 100. So 83 out of 100 is what I've got. Now, it's actually showed a few areas that since the last time I did it, that either they've changed or things have changed within the internet rules, if you like, from Google. So it's always a good idea to revisit it after you've done it. Maybe go back in a month's time and see what it says. It also depends on how quick the Google robots go around your site from when you've made your changes to when they'll register. Now, it's not exactly 100% perfect, but it's very, very good. So there are a couple of little gremlins within there, like it didn't pick up my Facebook page, it picked up someone else's, but the majority of that information will be true. And like I said, there's a couple of areas that I need to get my A into G and work on. So it's always good to have that feedback. So who should blog? Well, starting with HubSpot again, they've actually got 300 team members there now. So they've grown considerably. And each one of those 300 people is allowed to blog. Now, you might think, my goodness, that's a bit scary. I wouldn't like to let some of my team out on being the voice of the company. And that's absolutely fine. You don't have to just let them rip, but let them have a go, but still put some sort of measures and checks in place. Maybe someone needs to have the final say on that, which ones go out there. But it's a great way of including all the team members of your business. And people do like to see their name in lights and be published. And again, for their own personal brand, why not have their name out there and do something? So that's really very cool. So I really think that's a great idea of HubSpot, so that every team member is allowed to do it. So look at the whole team. Now, you might just decide to go for just the management team. That could just be the middle managers. It could be anybody. It could also be the big cheese himself. So your CEO, the boss, whoever it may be. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. Now, what HubSpot have actually said is that if you can blog 20 times a month, and don't gulp and fall off your chair, there's a lot, 20 times a month, you're 6 times more likely to actually get leads from your blog or from your website. So give that some thought. That's why they allow all their team members to do it, because they can post 3 and 4 posts a day. Now, I can't do that, and I bet you can't do that. And I can't do 20 times a month because, let's face it, that's 5 days a week. I can't commit to that. I haven't got the resources. So you do what you can, and we'll come a little bit more onto that a bit later on as we go. So don't worry about it. But whatever you do, make sure it's lively, it's useful, and it's interesting. You don't want to be putting people to sleep. So stay clear of continual negativity. Don't just make it a place where you whine and moan about something. And yes, you might want to do that occasionally when something's hacked you off. But it's not a place where people's morale's going to be brought down when they've read your blogs. So stay clear of all that sort of negativity stuff. If you've got nothing to speak, nothing to say, then don't post anything. And just like a newspaper, you know, if they've got no news, they don't post it. They don't have pages of empty space, and they don't sort of just make it up. So if there's nothing there to say, don't say it. Just like a newspaper. But do try and keep it lively and useful and interesting, and not putting people to sleep. So let's have a look at a couple of the platforms, and there are heaps and heaps of platforms. Probably the main ones is WordPress, and you've got two different types of WordPress. You've got .org and .com, and depending again on the level of your expertise, if you just want to start out, .com is free. That's the one I use, WordPress.com. It's free. There are some paid versions that you can actually get within the free one, so that you're only talking $50-$60, not a lot of money. And it suits most people for getting going. And it is a very well recognised and a very well searched by the Google bots is WordPress. So, you know, consider using that one. If you're a little bit more into blogging, or you're actually wanting to use your blog as your main website, then I'd definitely go for WordPress.org. Now, same company, it just gives you a lot more bells and whistles. It is paid. You do need to pay to get onto a .org one. You can use your own URL, so your company name can be redirected to that. But you've also got an amazing amount of plugins, and a plugin is basically a bolt-on extra added goodie. So there's heaps and heaps of them, whether it be sharing ability, whether it's to do with integrating with Facebook, whatever it is. There's heaps and heaps of plugins. But you will probably need some help to actually get that made. I certainly wouldn't attempt to make a WordPress.org blog on my own, but I know that's something that Anna and her team do. So it may be that one day, if I ever change completely from a website, I may go for a WordPress blog, because they're just phenomenal and they're surprisingly cheap. Then the other main one is blogger.com. I've never used Blogger before. I've seen it. I don't think it's quite as nice as WordPress, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion. You might really like Blogger. And then obviously there's your own website. A lot of website builders now actually have a blog piece that they can slot in for you. So it's already an integrated from your website. And that's probably the best type, if you have to do a website and a blog, is the integrated version, because that content is live on your website then. Again, going back for the whole Google Juice thing. But if you just want to start out, go for WordPress.com. If you're a little bit more advanced, or you're looking at using your blog as your website and not having an actual website, definitely go for .org. A lot more functionality in there. So that's just the main differences of those. Just a few samples here of what you get on the .com, the free one. Now there's over 200 different templates, and you can sort by different colors or different spaces, or if you want 3 columns rather than 2. So there's a whole bunch to actually choose from, and you can see what your blog looks like by just clicking any of these little live preview things. So you can see what your current blog would look like with that template wrapped around it. As you can see, you've got a few premium ones here, $80, $50, $75. So they're not going to break the bank, and they give you a bit of extra stuff. They look a little bit extra smoky. So all very nice. Whichever one you choose, make sure it's got the search functionality, the share functionality. You want people to visit your blog and say, yes, I want to post that to Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, or just at least like it. And the great thing here, particularly with WordPress, is that once someone's done one of those actions, you get notified. So you know that somebody's actually been and enjoyed what you've actually written, even if they've not left a comment. So that's kind of nice, because it's almost like leaving a tip in the tipping jar. Thanks for visiting. It's nice to know that they've been. And just in the back end there, I'm not going to go through this in any detail. It's so simple. It's just the normal kitchen sink that you would find of a Word document. So you've got all the different bits and pieces. You can add video or an image. You can do all the bold stuff. You can post from Word. You can do all the normal stuff anyway. Pop it all in there, and there's not much else to do, actually. It's very, very simple. I tend to actually write the copy in a Word doc so that I've got everything right, because some blogs don't have a spell check. So obviously you want to make sure that your spelling's right. So do it in your Word doc and then cut and paste it here. Now if you're doing that, remember to use the little W button there in the middle that I'm showing you, so that you take away any of that nasty coding that sits behind a Word doc. You don't want that to look nasty on your blog. Over here on this other tab, you've got the HTML. So if you need to add any code, maybe you want to embed a video, then you can do it that way. Although just by using the little video thingy over there, you just need to add the link from YouTube and it picks it up just as easy. So that's a much easier way of doing. All very, very simple. So let's have a look at a few tips then. So when it comes to writing your title, you need to keep that to 75 characters or less. Think about a newspaper headline. They're always short. There's never anything really, really long. So keep it nice and short, 75 characters or less. Keep your paragraphs short as well. When people are reading online, they tend to scan things a little bit more. They don't read great chunks of information. So I like to say maybe a couple of inches is probably what your paragraph should be before you move on to another one. And break it up with images and even add that video. Now those can be images that you've taken, and I suggest you keep your iPhone fully stocked of great things that you see, because you'll be amazed when you use those images that are off your iPhone or your smartphone. And we'll talk about some places to get images from later on. But images and video just give a nice look and feel. So never ever use read my latest blog post. That should never be your title. It's not interesting. No one's going to click on that at all. So really, what you would like to be able to put in the headline is some keywords. Keywords of how people might find you. Okie dokie. What else? So those keywords, more on keywords. Include those keywords actually in your content. Google love to go out and find what people are searching for. People search for keywords. If those keywords are not in your blog post or your article that you're posting on your website, they won't get found. And it's amazing. When you've actually written your article, just scan it again then and think, have I included these keywords? Because actually, even when you're talking about your industry, it's actually quite easy to forget them, to actually not have them in there. But they need to be as the human would see them and read them. Don't just stuff them in there for the robots, because that's not going to make for a good blog post. And then if you can hyperlink those keywords to another page, preferably within your blog, so you might actually be referencing another article or another page on your website, and try and keep those keywords linked to something that you've created rather than someone else has created, because you don't want to send all that lovely traffic that's reading your blog post and enjoying it to somewhere else. So keep them within your posts on your blog or your website. And also when you've got things like on the WordPress, I'm a blogger and I'm sure on all of them, it'll ask you to put tags in. And again, tags are simply keywords that don't appear in the content. So even if you've got keywords of fresh pink roses and the article that you've written is about flowers, but you haven't actually used fresh pink roses, but you want to use that as a tag, that's a keyword. That'll just go in the little tag box. So it won't appear in the post, but Google will find those tags when someone's searching for fresh pink roses. And always give it a category as well. Very often you'll see a lot of people's blogs that they're all uncategorized, and that makes it hard when someone comes to your blog and they just want to read all about a certain aspect of something. They don't want to hear about what you did on Sunday. So you can categorize it into things like getting customers, keeping customers, tax advice, whatever it is, but try and keep things all nice and neat. So I thought I'd just share with you a couple of my favourite examples and some useful information here, because Social Media Examiner is a great blog. And they can see just over here, they actually have 155,000 people now on their database. So each day they will get the latest blog post, which is a huge amount of people. They've really grown that over the last couple of years from virtually zip. So have a look, socialmediaexaminer.com. They always have some great information on there. So what's so good about them? Well, I find it really useful. I'm sure you will. 255,000 people find it useful. And the fact that it's daily. Now, I don't read each and every one that they send through. You haven't got time. I just pick the ones that I find are particularly useful or I've got time for. But it's a very, very simple format. And it's all about the same stuff, but different. So it's all about social media, but it's on different variations. So it might be YouTube one day, blogging another. And they don't do it all themselves. It's all from people, different voices. So you get their perspective on their different ideas, and it's attractive. A Harvard Business Review, a great blog to post. If you ever get to be on Harvard Business Review, that would be the one to be on, any university blog. Now, this again, it's updated continually all the time. You can see that they've got the share buttons here. You can email it. You can print it and you can email it. You can share it with all of these different things. You can see how many comments are on there, who's written it. All really, really nice and easy. And same with the MYOB Pulse. Now, this is an article that I had on this a little while ago. So all I'm doing is putting the brand out there again to a different audience. Something that a blog post that I'd already written and I shared with MYOB, and they wanted to share it with their community too. So you can see how many comments, all the sharing options there again, all very nice and easy. So I would encourage you to actually guest post on other people's blogs where you can as well. And for the same reasons, it's good because it's useful. It's updated pretty much daily, so there's new content up there. It's simple, different subjects, but it's all on business. So it's pretty much most of it's applicable to most businesses. Different voices again from different people. And then you've got Seth Godin. Now, Seth Godin's my sort of hero. I am not worthy. Seth Godin, he does things a little bit differently. Wouldn't you just know it, bless him. I really like Seth anyway. But you can't leave a comment on Seth's blogs. And I think that's because there is only him. He doesn't have a team of people behind him working on his emails or his blog comments. So when something happens from Seth, it's only him. It is him. And that's kind of cool, really. So I guess he can't commit the time. I guess he's a busy guy. But I'd like to be able to comment on his blogs. But, if you do comment, then you've got to actually respond if you allow that. So he has some useful thoughts. So this is one of his bigger posts. And then the following day, and he sends something out daily, it's only a small one. So it doesn't have to be a massive amount of content. What's he got here? 2 sentences, 3 sentences, nothing more. Very often it's just something profound that he wants to share with you. But all the time he's just developing his brand, getting his word out there, and encouraging people to share it. And I really like it. Again, different variations. It's just all on marketing, but it's his voice, and it's always Seth. And sometimes it's a long post, and sometimes it's a short post. And I had the pleasure of seeing Seth at the World Business Forum last year. And I wrote a quick post, took a photograph of him on stage because I'd actually caught his germs. Well, I thought I'd caught his germs anyway, because he was only 3 rows ahead of me up on the stage, and he got a bad cold. So I wrote this little blog post about me catching Seth's germs, and I actually sent him the link to it. And lo and behold, he came back and just commented on my blog, which, I was pretty chuffed about. So I know that Seth is just Seth. So to take the time and trouble just to write on my blog was huge for me. So anyway, I'm waffling there. So what sort of things do your target market want to hear? And this goes back to the same for anything on social media. What is their frustration, their biggest problem, their biggest need, or their biggest desire? And that's what you need to talk about on your website or your blog. Very, very simple. So if you can figure that out, what your target market want, then the rest is reasonably simple. Now, I find that tips, something real short, are the most shared and the most appreciated. And, that can just be 2 or 3 sentences and maybe an image. You've got the everyday stuff, which could be tips. It could just be something short, whatever it is you want to share. But then you've also got what I call the extra effort things. So that might be an extra long blog post that's got extra content in there that you've taken just that bit more time and trouble to do, and you've put images in there and really gone to town on a super duper piece of writing. And that might be, 500, 1,000 words long, whatever it is, but something super duper. So every once in a while, shove something in like that, and watch what happens, see if you get a much better response or if people actually prefer the everyday short stuff and tips. Then use your video if you're into video, and we've got more coming up on video with next week, I think, from Lewis. So you could do maybe an interview or a product launch, embed that into your blog. Guest posts. Don't do it all on your own. Who in your industry can you pull in to write on your blog? Gives them another audience, gives your audience another perspective, and encourages more readers. And then how about doing a weekly mashup, a compilation of the news? And again, Social Media Examiner do this quite well. On a Saturday, you'll get what's this week in social media, and it'll just tell you the sort of half a dozen neat things that's happened within the industry. So that's a nice and easy way to actually create that content. And if you put a little plan together so that you know that once a quarter or once a month, you're going to do that extra effort stuff, or you're going to put on 2 videos a month, and you're going to do a weekly mashup, then suddenly you haven't actually got much more content to find. You need to put some images on your blog as well, and the same with your website, because now you can actually share that with Pinterest. And for those of you that are on Pinterest, will remember that the images are shared along with a link. So if I've actually used a really cool image on a blog post and someone sees that and they pin it onto Pinterest, that actually takes the whole blog post behind it too. So when they share or repin that image somewhere else onto to their followers or to their pinners, they've got access to then go back and click on that blog post. So that's really, really cool. And you can get great images from iStockPhoto.com, and those are probably the more common ones that you see. You do have to pay for them. And GettyImages.co.nz, I think there's probably GettyImages.com as well. But they've got some fabulous images, and they do tend to be a little bit more expensive, but I do think it's worth it. Don't just nick stuff off the internet. You don't want to be in breach of copyright from someone's hard work. But if you keep in photographs that you're taking on your smartphone, you'd be amazed when you use them. Those are probably the best ones because they're yours and they tell a tale about whatever it is that you've prompted you to actually take that photograph of. So have a look at both those sites, and you can just buy a few at a time. You don't have to sign up for a great load of images, but do use the images. So just post regularly. It doesn't matter how often you post. If you only can post once a week, that's fine, but your readers are expecting something regular. So make sure if you are posting once a week, you stick to once a week. If you're doing it every day, do it every day, but just make sure it's regular. You don't need to do it all on your own though. So remember, HubSpot, 300 of their team members actually get involved and write those posts. Someone collates them, someone makes sure that they're okay and says what's going out, where and when. So they plan ahead when they've got that sort of volume coming through. So you can schedule posts, and that means actually just, having a couple of articles sat in your Word doc ready to go for when you need them, because some days you've got 3 things to talk about and some days you've got nothing. So you can just pull one of those posts that you've already written. Keep some ideas, if you find something that you think, blooming heck, that's a good blog post, then just keep a note of it. You've got your smartphone to just write notes on there, or do it audio, or your little notebook, and take photographs wherever you can, because you will use them. You'll be amazed. So other resources that are out there is ProBlogger. Now this is ProBlogger.net, and this is Darren Rose. Or Rouse. He's over in Melbourne, I think. Does a great job. He's actually got a webinar tomorrow, 12 o'clock New Zealand time. I think it's 9 o'clock his time. And it's free, and that's all about monetizing your web. I don't actually have the link, but if you go to his ProBlogger.net, I'm sure he's got it up there, or go to his Facebook page. There'll be a link there to his webinar. So that's very, very cool. He's got some good stuff. So a quick look at some of the blogging rules, if you like. Be authentic. Use your language. If you swear a lot, and those of you that have come across Gary Vaynerchuk, he swears like a trooper, bless him. He's got a good message, but if you can get just past some of the swear words, then he's being authentic. That he swears, that's up to him. Personally, it's not something I would do in a blog, but as long as you're authentic, you choose the sort of language that you want to use. Include being a bit of humanity, include being human. That always does come across. Try to explain things in a human way. Remember also, what you actually publish is is published. It's there for a gazillion years, so people can take legal action. If you've written something that is blatantly not true, and someone wants to sue you, they can do that just as good, just because it's an online blog, as if you put something in the newspaper. So do be aware of what you publish. It's got to be the rightful truth. You don't want someone suing you for libel. Respond to all the comments, because you will get comments. There'll be a lot of people visit your blog that don't actually do anything. Like I say, the web watchers, they'll just pass through, digest the information and go. But when people do take the time to comment, do comment back and thank them for dropping by at least, just out of common courtesy. If someone paid you a compliment in the street about something that you'd written, you'd say thanks. So do it online as well. And for those corporates, just drop the lingo. That's really for your corporate website. A blog is much more relaxed, much more coffee shop, and we don't want to hear the corporate lingo. So try and really dumb it down to something that we can understand. Then we just got to make sure that we share it. And I like to say share whatever we've done 7 times. So post it to your Facebook page, and that can be either be the whole post or just a link back to your blog from onto your from your Facebook page to your blog. You can tweet it. You've got your LinkedIn status update box, which is the one just under your name on LinkedIn. And again, that'll just automatically pull through a little bit of your blog. So that will share with everyone that you're directly connected to. Then you've got your LinkedIn company page. If you've got one, again, you can actually do status updates from your LinkedIn company page. So that can be that blog post. Don't forget Google Plus. Add it in there if you've got your page up there. Another blog as guest. So actually put that post on someone else's blog so that you guest blogging somewhere else for your bigger audience. And then some of those blog posts, you can repost them again later. I don't mean writing the whole post again onto your blog, but I mean you can certainly share all that content again, maybe in a month's time, because someone might have missed it the first time round. When you go to LinkedIn, to your LinkedIn profile, you can actually put one of the options as your blog, so that when someone's looking you up on LinkedIn, they can see your blog and click through to it. So you've got the option there of either using this blog one here. I don't like to use that. I still like to use other, and then it brings up this middle box here, and then you can just still put in there, read my latest blog posts or great blog posts from me, whatever that word is, wherever you're sending people, that's what should go in there. And then you can actually feed your blog into your profile. So when anyone's reading your profile, there's the last 5 postings, just give them a taste and they can click through very, very easy from any one of those. And to do that, you just either go to the applications under More and pull up either blog link or WordPress. So if you've got a WordPress blog, use the WordPress one. If it's not a WordPress blog, any other blog, use blog link. And that will simply feed all your hard work into your LinkedIn profile for a bit of extra exposure. So again, when people are looking at you, they can actually see more about you from your blog. And then we really just got to promote it. Maybe put something in your email signature or your out of office message, particularly if you don't have a website, then have your blog URL. Have it on the back of your business card. Obviously, have a link from your website to your blog. In fact, have a link from your Facebook page, your LinkedIn profile. Everything that you do online should all have a link to all of those different areas. So from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube to LinkedIn and all the rest of them. Make sure that they're all well linked and that your blog is included. And then anything that you have printed, why not? Yes, not just business cards, but all your other printed collateral, website, blog, all that. Okay, well, that's pretty much me. How am I doing for time? Bang on time. Whilst this book that I wrote last year, well, it came out in September, it doesn't actually cover blogging per se, but it does cover all the other social media sites. So you may find it of use if you're still looking for more social media help. It's only $35 New Zealand, and you can get it from the website, bluebanana20.com/book, or you can get it in the bookstores or Amazon or Fishpond or any of those big sites, published by Wiley. So it's pretty much everywhere that you would normally find a good book. And if you're looking for any more training of own description, then there's my mobile number and my email address, info@bluebanana20.com. So I hope that's been useful for you. And just remember that you're only one click away from being unconnected, unfriended, unfollowed, unpinned, or unsubscribed. So don't be unsocial. So that's it from me. So if there are any questions on blogging, please send them through to the little chat box at the bottom there and I will go through them. But as yet, there's nobody got any questions. So I'll just give it a minute. Here's one. Hello, Susie. Oh, we've got a couple coming through now. Let's have a look. Here's the link for the ProBlogger webinar. Good on you, Susie. Thank you. And there it is. Monetizing. So it's www.problogger.net/archives/webinars/monetizing blogs Darren Rose. So it's there on your screen. Thanks, Susie. That will be a good one, actually. I like Darren Rose's information. I did ask him if he could possibly at the last minute come and do this one today, as Anna was sick, but he couldn't find a babysitter to get his kids to school. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have. Bless him. What a nice guy. Okay, if you put an answer, we'll be able to see it. Of course, silly me. Right. There we go. Coming your way. Okay, lovely. If there's any more questions, I'll just tell you what's happening next while I'm just waiting to see if there are any more questions. Jane Melville Allen from Terabyte is going to be talking about opportunities for business from the mobile revolution. So that's going to be all sorts of things to do with mobile technology, your smartphone and iPads and that type of thing, and making sure that what you do on there is easily readable by people on those things on your smartphone, because it's coming more and more current. So if people are still at bus stops waiting for a bus, they're on their smartphone looking at websites, etc., more and more than what they're actually doing on their own desktop. So we need to make sure that people can still read it, what we've got out there. So that's going to be on Thursday, and then next week we've got Lewis again talking about insights, tags and distribution of your YouTube movies. And then the lovely Julian Smith from MYOB. I've still got a question mark on his, but I know what he's going to be talking about, so I'm not going to tell you. And that will be next week. So it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So I am going to thank our sponsors once again, MYOB. Lovely to be a part of this whole presentation thing. I hope you found today useful. Feel free to email me with any questions that you have. I'll help in any way that I possibly can. We know what's going on Thursday and next week, and I'll see you in the MYOB 20 group on LinkedIn. So thanks very much for your attendance. That's it from me. Over and out.